Well, that's kind of interesting. It's the first time we've started our show without a sound check. Do you think we're going to come through live and well?
Yes, we'll be fine.
I'm
they know
sure.
what they're doing.
we're dealing with professionals here, and they've run this little studio for a long time in the area.
Thank God somebody knows what they're doing, yeah.
And I can hear you, and you can hear me, and that kind of means something's working. That's all that matters. But we're having kind of a different show today, and I don't think we have all the facts that we would like to present to our viewers, but we have information, right?
It starts with information.
Starts with information, and we at least can tell our viewers where to go if they're interested in this. Sorry, folks, I've got a little hair hanging in my cheek. But we can at least tell them where to go for more information.
Right. Which would be, yeah. And I'm sure this information will intrigue some of them and probably most of them to maybe want to do more research on it.
And to tell the truth, right here on Channel 13, they can even watch the particular film that we got our information from, right? So Channel 13 in Prescott, Arizona is showing a film called Thrive. It is loaded with interesting facts, and it was actually presented and researched and put together after many years of research by Foster Gamble, who is part of the Procter Gamble company.
Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, he grew up very privileged. He went to Princeton, I believe, right?
Yes, Princeton.
And of course, had a lot of money in his background. He was being groomed
to work for the company.
Right. Big company, Procter & Gamble.
Always interesting when, families have one idea for their children. Of course, when you have a big company like that
lots of bucks.
Yeah.
Mucho bucks.
To groom your children, which you would think, here, I'm presenting an empire to you. And they decide to take a different path.
I sent mine to the School of Hard Knocks. Did you? Yeah. But he was expected to follow in the family business and was given all the opportunities to do that, education-wise. But he's quite a guy. It's not easy,
right,
to choose a different path with those expectations, family expectations, right?
Right. Well. Not only to have a business paved for you to take over, but to go into the type of mindset that he was, going into.
The interest he had.
Yeah, the interest that he had was really way off the beaten path as far as what his family had in mind for him.
And the way that happened for him, he was actually just a child, I don't know, something like 7 or 8, when he was going home on the school bus, and he was looking out the window from the school bus, and he had a vision. He saw a pattern of energy in the universe. Out the window, he just saw this pattern. And from that point on, even as a little child, he knew there was something out there that he wanted to learn more about and research and find out about, which he did. Okay.
Fascinating.
And through that, it's called, it was a code. It's a pattern in the energy that is, it's a lot of things, but it's like a torus, right?
Right.
And we see it in our everyday life. We see it in nature.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
And every history, every religion continues to repeat this pattern of some sort with their symbols or their statues or their carvings or the hieroglyphics.
Easy for you to say, hieroglyphics, but no, you're right, because thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, they even found where that particular pattern that we're talking about was burned into a temple, into the stone. But we've seen it, even in the Hebrew, the Kabbalic tree of life, is a pattern. The flower of life is a pattern. It is absolutely in the Aztec and the Native American and the Chinese, in every culture in the world, all across the world, from Australia to China, there's this pattern. And what is it that I'm thinking of in China where
the Lost Empire.
The Lost Empire, where those dogs, the foo dogs.
The foo dogs, and they have the paws on those.
Two round balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've all seen those, even if we didn't realize what
we
meant.
were looking at.
Right.
Which is true, really, for that particular pattern anyway. But in nature, what I was thinking of was the apple and the orange.
Right.
Okay, not just the difference between the apple and oranges, but if you slice it down the middle, you will see
the pattern.
The pattern. The pattern of the Taurus energy we're talking about, because it starts like this, goes through the center, comes back around to itself, a continuous flow. And in the universe, it is said, there is a sea of energy. That's a continuous flow of this energy, right?
Wow.
That we can tap into freely. It's an energy source for all of us to use that's free. So why do you think we're not doing it? I mean, that's a given, right?
Well, something that you triggered with me on the fruit was there was a study done, which doesn't have to do with the energy, but if we really got in touch with nature and our food sources, we have messages all the time. Like there's the walnuts that shaped like a brain.
Right.
And they've proven that walnuts are good for brains.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the tomato, if you cut it down the middle, looks like a heart. Tomatoes are good for hearts. Yep. And if you cut the carrot in half, you'll see the iris of an eye, and carrots are good for your eyes.
Yeah. Well, isn't that cute?
Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me that
nature gives us the message.
That nature gives us a message, and we just don't even stop long enough to even pay attention.
Right.
And I think even more so now in this high-tech world that we're in, we completely just go into auto stance all the time.
And we believe everything we're told.
Exactly.
We never ask enough questions. I mean, most of us go through life, and I'm not insulting anyone, but most of us go through life with an assumption that we have
and you
the
and
knowledge.
I are guilty of it, just.
Well, I'm probably one of the worst.
Yeah.
I never ask enough questions. When I've done business and people have said, oh, just sign here, do I take the time to read over the contract? No, I just sign.
Right.
Do I know how banking works? No. If you deposit your money, very little of your money's in there because it's being used. That's the banking system. But we don't ask any questions.
Right. That's true.
But, going back to nature and getting messages and signs, let's go to the crop circles. Okay. There have been over 5,000 of them across the world. Right? Most of them have been in England, but they've shown up across the world. The crop circles that were not copied by humans absolutely did not damage the blades whatsoever. They laid them down, but the blade was alive and intact. Okay.
Yes.
The ones that were being copied by copycat humans, damaged the blades, destroyed them. So we know, plus electromagnetically, it's been tested.
That they have a different energy field.
Different energy field, electromagnetic energy field. But the crop circles themselves have been patterns of
this symbol, this circle of energy,
this Taurus energy. That's available to us out there in the universe. They actually give us that, and I know in this film Thrive, they had astronauts, they had people that have been involved with NASA on this film.
Wow.
That have actually, I'm sure, taken a risk, gone out on limbs, so to speak, to talk about the interaction and information that they have had with our visitors from outer space, and having seen the UFOs, and how quickly they move or sit still or disappear, And they know it's because they can use this Taurus energy that they know how.
Wow, that's
And
interesting.
we're given the message. We've been given the message since the beginning of time, when ancient civilization talked about the sun gods coming down, and all of that stuff.
Well, and not only that, but the proof that we have just on the pyramids. They've had themselves having proof of this, and it's written like a storybook.
Right.
It just wasn't just made up.
Right.
When it's repeated over and over and over again.
Every civilization since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Now, the sad thing is that in our own civilization, in our human race, industrial times, even Albert Einstein was given the Nobel Prize back in 1921 for some of the patterning that he found out in the universe, the quantum physics kind of thing, theories. But we've had Tesla, and I think, was it our last show or the one before that where we lightly talked about that, mentioned it? Do you remember?
The Tesla, I don't remember.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. Quantum physics, where? Yeah. Exactly. But Tesla had actually found a way to extract this energy for us to use, free energy, and it was being funded by the Rockefeller Foundation. And all of a sudden, it was realized that this free energy...
Free being the key word.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Would financially hurt this industry that was providing copper and oil, and all this stuff would be damaged, and Tesla's lab mysteriously burned down, all the information lost. We have had scientists that have actually been beaten to death. Who beat them to death? Who knows? But they were all the ones dealing with a way to extract this free energy.
It's a shame, isn't it?
It is a shame. Pharmaceutical companies who are run by big money people, it's a handful of people. Even this Foster Gamble says when he wanted to find out where the obstacle was to what was preventing this free energy to get out to the world, he said, I decided to follow the money trail,
And that's so unfortunate that the majority of us do sell out.
Well, it's all about the money.
Right.
A handful of people run the world, really.
Well, and it's kind of like that energy source. It just all filters back into the same group of people. So.
And it keeps getting bigger, and we get snow jobs like years ago when they came out and said, they're going to help us go green, and then all the fertilizer being used in agriculture and all the pesticides were petroleum-based, more oil, oil money. And we know that there have been cures because they've been proven for cancer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who stops that?
Well, I'm sure part of that handful of people.
Sure. The pharmaceutical companies are big money. I mean, it's trillion-dollar industries.
It's
so many zeros that I can't even comprehend it, But it stopped. Actually, this one particular doctor, he proved on some cancerous tumors microwaves. He destroyed them with something like microwaves.
Oh, the cancer itself.
The cancer itself.
And we just have them freely in our house.
The AMA actually usually turns everything down because they're being, of course, run by the many people.
Right.
But don't you love the way they have a product of some kind when they list all the side effects?
And then within a few months or even a year, it's yanked off the market because it's not suitable
right.
or dangerous for you.
Or you need to buy this now because you've got the side effects
Right.
that were created. Some of it is just it's almost comical. You'll take something for a headache. However, it could make you go blind. It could cause diarrhea. It could cause, heart
Sign
disease.
me up.
Sign me up. Yeah, I'll take 2 of those. And you're being funny, but the sad thing is,
We do.
It's true.
And we do.
Yeah, we take
and
that
we do.
stuff.
I mean, I'm guilty of it. And,
We all are.
but it's a shame. But how amazing to know that our universe is so powerful that we can tap into this free energy. And and I hopefully that's part of our show, that we actually give people the information to just do a little research or a different idea, a way of thinking.
And he even says in his film, he said, nature, and we are part of that, we are part of nature, was actually designed in a way that we are supposed to thrive.
Yes.
Hence the title of that particular show, Thrive. But instead of thriving, the majority is surviving.
Right.
That's all we try to do, is just survive, get through one day to the next,
Yeah. And just even with work, you're 1 week away from being bankrupt, most Americans.
Well, or a day.
Or a day.
I mean, really.
A week is giving you a lot, but if I was out of work for 1 week because I'm self-employed, I don't have I'm surviving. I'm constantly working to survive till the next week, and then take care of that, and then the next week. So,
and I'm right there with you, but we're even fortunate to have a day. Look at the millions of people right now who don't even have that.
Right, that's right.
Day job. But exactly what he said, in nature, it has been so designed. It's so complex and yet simple, really. But everything in nature has been designed to thrive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we are we're going totally against every situation that is supposed to make us successful and healthy and happy and all of that.
We stopped the momentum.
We've stopped it. Oh, I like the way you said it. We've stopped the momentum, yes. When did that happen exactly? Who knows? But we do know that right now we're controlled. Not just our food is being engineered. The educational system were designed to be like a sheep. Everybody's to follow a certain way.
Cookie cutter system.
Cookie cutter, you're so right, yeah.
Yeah, and we know just having your own children, if you have more than one child, 2 children are not alike, regardless of the same household they grew up in. Right. So
same mom and dad, but they can be like that apple and orange.
Yeah. So it's, and I'm hoping, I like to think we are evolving, and people are starting to think for themselves. Right. The biggest tip that I've done for myself, which helps tremendously, is not watch the news. Well, because every time I do, you got to know, you need to be up to date, but that constant
negative,
constant drilling and over again, especially if it's a really negative story, it runs nonstop, like almost brainwashing.
Well, it is brainwashing, and we're also influenced by the media so much on our political systems. And I'm wanting to stick with the food, though, kind of how we're being controlled. Yeah. Because they'll tell us this is good for you. The next day it's bad for you.
And that's done with the media.
Right. So. And I've got to quit watching Dr. Oz, because I'm telling you, he's costing me a lot of money.
He has so many good ideas.
Well, and it's so much about the weight loss, which is, of course, a big concern for me. I ran out after a particular show of his I watched on health and weight loss, and I bought all the stuff that was recommended, which is good, natural stuff. It's not going to hurt me. But one of the things he suggested, I went to our health food store here in our town. to buy, and they said they were completely sold out an hour after they had opened their doors.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
I did that with something he had suggested, and they're like, "We've sold so many of those today."
I know it. So, but we're
perfect candidates, aren't we?
We're perfect candidates for anything. So, but that's when I'm going to quit watching. But you're right. It's like really common sense, and we've talked about people having common sense on the show and the lack of it before. But a lot of this is common sense. What is upsetting to me is to know that there's free energy,
yes,
okay, which would give us a free ecological system, you know, clean air, clean what we breathe, clean what we produce, and money doesn't even matter. It's the health, okay, but free. To know that we could have healthier food, to know, like you say, even what you call it, cookie cutter?
Yeah, cookie cutter system, yeah.
Right. People that think outside of the box would be allowed. Scientists wouldn't have their labs burned down. We'd have an intergalactic system, whether we want to admit that or sound far out there or not, when people from NASA and astronauts will take the risks to say what they know. We've got to say, hey, something's going on, right?
Right. Well, we would have to think that, I would hope to think that us as humans or on this earth, to think we are a small earth in this galaxy.
Very small.
Very small dot on the galaxy chart. To think that we're the only thing that exists.
Well, actually, we already know there are really a lot more planets that are like the Earth out
and they're
there.
actually starting to discover them, seems like more and more, or revealing them, we should say.
And I think probably some of them is discovering it because we've got different technology that sees beyond, but that's just a little scratch on the surface.
but we believe that only the way the earth is made as far as oxygen and gravity, that this is the only place that can sustain life form, but that doesn't mean another planet could evolve to their own environment to live in that type of environment.
It does. That's another thing nature has proven. It will evolve because we are survivalists, right? Look at the little cucaracha, that little cockroach, right? He's probably living in some colony right now out there, hard to destroy. But no, that's just another part of scientific fact in nature, that it will evolve and adapt itself to whatever the environment is, right? But, what are people going to do? What can we as people do to make a difference or change things in government to be allowed things like the scientists extracting this energy that we know is there for us to use, and yet we keep getting squashed? What can people do as a united civilization to change those things?
Well, with the unemployment rate right now, and people just can't even afford to have resources anyways,
this would provide free heat, all of that. People, that don't have the money to buy propane gas. Or what are we paying now for gasoline for our cars and all of that? But again, it gets down to the fact, what can we as a group do to get that change? We've got to change government. I'm sorry to say it, but we've got to get people in charge that will make the difference. That are not being controlled like puppets. By the money people.
Yeah. And that's just it. It's just going way back to that. And so I don't know, Gertie. I don't know what the answer is to that, but the fact that we're helping to inform people, hopefully that's just one step closer to change. And that's that's always the difference. You have to be armed with knowledge. Knowledge. So if we are
affecting anyone out there at all that's interested. Again, Channel 13 is showing the show Thrive by Foster Campbell, and
I'd actually like to watch it again.
Sure. Well, there's so much information in it. I mean, we've just
skimmed the surface.
Yeah, we just skimmed the surface.
It's just fascinating. I would love to know how they actually tap into this source of energy.
Well, it's been done. I mean, they've
it's been done, but
that have done it. And Tesla was not the only scientist. Einstein wasn't the only scientist. Scientists through the ages. I say through the ages, but many have already invented machines that knew how to harvest this free energy
that we know of. You
right.
know, because if we go back in history and religion and see these symbols for this energy,
over and
who
over
knows
and
what
over.
They used to get it.
That's right. Well, and I just had a train of thought, and it fell out into the universe. It's out there with that Taurus somewhere in that energy. I forgot what I was going to say, but it'll come back to me. Must not have been all that important, I guess. Although it's bugging me now what it was that I wanted to say. I have to let it go. We have got to make changes on the top.
Yeah.
And be willing to take a stand.
Yeah.
And get out there.
one of the things I think would be a good tool is to start becoming present and start looking at your environment, start looking at
your
nature,
food.
Your food, like I said, with the tomato for the heart, the walnut for the brain.
I love that.
The carrot for the eyes. I mean, and now that I've told you that, you will look at those things differently and say, the connection is my brain, my heart, my eyes.
Right.
So, anyways, interesting show for just to start.
For at the top of our head without really having all the facts. We had enough facts and we were interested enough.
Hopefully to spark some interest.
Absolutely. Like we try to do with all of our shows.
Exactly.
We never claim to be authorities on anything.
No, not at all.
Actually, we're authorities on very little of nothing, okay? But we have enough knowledge and things that interest us to, like you say, spark somebody out there. So I think we did it again, girlfriend, and that's what we're talking about.